Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positively doing a sort of the anti-radio row thing here. We're doing a cup of soup or bowl all next week. If we can get the snow the hell out of here. We're going to be at Fadley's on Monday. I have my Lexington Market shirt on. We're giving away the scratch-offs from the Maryland Lottery, the Candy Cane Cashers, as well as our friends at GBMC putting us out on the road for a good turn, telling community, charity stories, feel-good stories. I'm visiting with a bunch of people next week. Fadley's on Monday. Tuesday, we are going to take it over to El Guapo in Catonsville. Wednesday, we'll be at Coco's in Lauraville. Thursday, we go to Pizza John's in Essex. And Friday, we'll wrap things up at Costas in Timonium. All parts of the Beltway that this guy remembers from 25 years ago. He is the great voice of all things Denver sports radio these days, taking after his one-time mentor, me, back in the day. He caught touchdown passes in Super Bowls. He has rings, and he is my ticket-collecting pal. And sometimes we engage in an adult beverage from time to time when we are in the same place at the same time. Happy 25th anniversary to you on Wednesday, Brandon Stokley, of catching your first Super Bowl touchdown pass and getting your first ring here. And I called you, and you're like, oh, I don't. Is it this week? Really? Right?
I didn't know. I mean, come on, man. I don't know. I mean, obviously, anytime we get close to the Super Bowl, you always have great memories about that year and what we were able to accomplish. It was so cool going back to Baltimore this past season. I hung out with you a little bit, and we had a good time. But just reconnecting with the former teammates and doing that was so much fun. So, but didn't realize that it was coming up and that the date was going to be on Wednesday. So really cool. But I don't know. I don't put in my calendar or anything.
Dude, I got it right here on the books, man. I got our pictures in here, the hardback, the softback, all that stuff. Brandon, let's talk about Denver for a minute, and then I'll let you go and whist all about all your Super Bowl. You can put your Colts ring up. You can do all that. But the Denver thing this week and the weather, I'm assuming you were at the game. I mean, just a wild time, backup quarterback, and how close you come when it's a fingertip on a kick. I mean, I go back to Billy Cundiff, and I know what you guys experienced. You were on the other end of the Mile High Miracle. The losses this time of year, it's always we were this close, right?
Yeah, and that was the thing. I was at the game. I did go. The Broncos played really good. Their defense played great. And you had a chance to go up 10 points, 2 scores, and you pass that opportunity up early in the football game there, I think early in the second quarter, and you went for it on 4th and 1 and didn't convert, and that was everything. If you go up 2 scores and then the weather changed in the second half, the defense was playing great. I think the Broncos win by double digits, and they went for it, and they didn't convert, obviously, and all the momentum went to the Patriots, and they just made a couple more plays than the Broncos did. But that's a tough way to lose. You're right. I've been on some good ones, won some great ones, and I've been on that one against Baltimore here in Denver. I've been on one where we missed a field goal against Pittsburgh when we were, I think, the number 1 seed in Indy in that game. Jerome Bettis's fumble, and it was a bad kick by Vanderjack, and it wasn't even close. So I've been on some heartbreakers, unfortunately, and those are tough in the playoffs because it felt like watching that game and being there, the Broncos were the better football team, but they just kind of gave that football game away.
Dude, you're an amazing guy because I'm sitting here. I talk to you sometimes to forget who you are and what you've done and play. I remember being up in New England in a snowstorm watching you lose a championship game to Brady early in my marriage, 04, 05, when you first got there. And I also think about you in iconic cold games or weird games. The Mile High Miracle game that you were on the other side of, really weird weather in general this time of year. The broadcast, I looked at the weather app and said, it looks like it's going to snow in the second half. They didn't mention it much in the broadcast. Matter of fact, Nance says, we might have some snowflakes here a little later on. And I'm thinking to myself, Denver's sudden, dude. You've lived there for a decade and it comes on. Were you aware when you left for the game that like was everybody of the mindset that this thing could really take a turn? Because by the time it got to the third quarter, it looked like, well, the Broncos are going to have the ball and maybe a drive or two or three to at least go into that end zone. That kick would have been good too. And that, I mean,
Yeah.
probably would have been good if it didn't get
Yeah.
touched. So like there was just so much about the weather in a game that you've been in that where it's blowing in your face or in the other way. It it can't be shown on television for what it's like to be on the field in those conditions.
Yeah. I left the house and it was perfect conditions. I mean, it was awesome. The sun was out and it was just going to be a nice winter day. And, funny thing is, on Friday, we had a weather guy, a meteorologist on. And we've never had that happen before, but we just wanted to, get the feel of what the conditions might be. And he did mention that there could be some bad weather coming in the second half. And you never quite know for sure, especially on Friday. Things could change in a couple of days. But man, it rolled in, and you could see over the stadium, and it just looked like apocalyptic style, weather conditions were coming in, and then there it was, and man, it changed, the complexity of that football game, and so certainly, yeah, it was tough conditions for both football teams. And, the Patriots had that lead because of that drive that they had there to start the second half. And at that point, neither offense was doing much. So Broncos had that chance to kick that field goal and tie it, just got tipped. So it just was like it wasn't meant to be for them.
Brandon Stokley is our guest. It's been meant to be for you sometimes, and other times it wasn't meant to be. But you stick around long. I mean, you laugh about it now, but it's tough being in Denver today. I saw even afterward with the Rams, where like McVay's like, I didn't even think about losing because I just didn't think we were. I thought when you get that vibe about you when you get to this point in the season, of course you think you're going to win. That's why you're there, right? For Denver and picking up the pieces, boy, Sean Payton he's a Hall of Fame coach where he has aged. I hope McCarthy and Harbaugh, and you played in various conditions for a lot of these famous coaches, that this next turnaround, it certainly feels like Sean Payton is doing what he's meant to be doing, and from afar. And I covered him as an OC. You played against him in the Super Bowl 25 years ago this week. Feels like a different kind of cat. Like he's really mellowed to some degree, matured in a way where I'm like, man, that's a hell of a football coach you got out there.
Oh, he's done a great job. What this team had been through for the decade previous, after they won Super Bowl 50, it was some bad football, some bad coaching. The roster was depleted, and he has come in here and flipped this thing around. And there's a different culture, different guys, and he's done a remarkable job. Plus, he had the Russell Wilson, cap hit the last 2 years. At the time, it was the largest cap hit in NFL history, $80-something million, 50-something million 2 years ago, and 35 million or so this past year. That's going to be going off the book. So he had to deal with that also. He's done a remarkable job. And, we're critical of him and very critical of his decision to not kick that field goal yesterday, because I believe if they would have kicked it, the Broncos, like I said, would have won that game by double digits. But so we're critical of some of his decisions, but overall, he's been unbelievable. Yeah, I agree with you. He is definitely a Hall of Fame coach.
Boy, the Stidham thing was crazy too, playing with a backup. Like, I mean, I know you talked about that on the radio all last week in Denver and what that's like. A really tough circumstance that they almost overcame, really.
Yeah, it was really remarkable. You're talking about a guy that hadn't thrown the football in a real game in over 2 years, and you're dropped in the AFC Championship game. I thought he handled himself well, and certainly there was a couple plays there that he wishes he had back. But overall, I thought it'd have been fun to see, what it would have looked like there in the second half if the conditions weren't what they were. But yeah, I thought, and I don't know that. You tell me. I've never seen a situation like the Broncos had a week ago where no one even knew that Bo Nix was injured during the game. It happened really 2 plays before the field goal kick. So and he played both of those plays. You couldn't even tell that he was hurt. And then everyone's fired up about the Broncos going and hosting an AFC Championship game, and what a classic that was against the Bills, to all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Bo Nix's season is over. Maybe he has a sprained ankle and he's going to be questionable for this week. Okay. No, he's having surgery on Tuesday and his season is over. And I didn't even know he was hurt, And so I had never seen anything like that in sports to where, you're going to that type of game and you're not even knowing that the guy was hurt to he's done for the year. He's having surgery. That was crazy.
Brandon Stokley is our guest on the eve of the 25th anniversary of him catching that pass over Jason Sehorn right in front of me, in front of the ship right there in Tampa. It was a lovely night. I wrote a book about it. You should go check it out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we get change here, right? First time in 18 years with the coach. You were in. Guys were bending my ear at that Modell party when we celebrated the 25th anniversary with all the players in the Steelers game back in December. I would think that day you didn't think Harbaugh was in trouble or that Tomlin would be in trouble or that McDermott would be fired or, any of these things that have happened, and the league's weird that way. You played in the league for a decade and a half. You've been that guy when someone gets fired and or steps down or changes or you played for a lot of coaches. Clear it up for me, for my audience, for people here being the veteran guy. What is that like to go through that period where the boss changes?
Well, it's tough. Now all of a sudden, you signed up for one thing and now it's going to be totally different. Everything's going to be different. How you practice, how you go about just everything. And you're going to have usually a new offensive coordinator, for a guy like me, which is a big deal. And if you defensively, you'll probably have a new defensive coordinator. That's usually kind of what happens. And certainly that's going to happen in Baltimore with Lamar. So,
terminology changes, right? Like literally you need to learn different languages, right?
Exactly. Everything changes, how they call plays, how they want you to run certain plays. And so there's a lot of adjustments. But sometimes it's a good thing. Like, okay, you get caught in a rut, maybe with the same coach and the same system for a long time. And it kind of breathes a life of, new life into you a little bit. So, I think there's some positives that can come out of it also. But, when we changed coaches here from Mike Shanahan to Josh McDaniels, and it was a lot of change. Obviously, everything was different, but it was something new, and so there was a different type of energy around it. And so I think sometimes John Harbaugh, he's a great football coach. Obviously, did a lot of great things, and there for a long time. Sometimes it's just hey, it's time for change. Same thing with Mike Tomlin, just time for change. And I think that's what happened there in Baltimore.
Tell me about your father as a coach, because I'm always interested. Harbaugh and his father, his brother, obviously, and his brother when he was a player with you back in the day, and the Minter thing. Obviously, Minter's father was a sponsor to John Harbaugh and Rex Ryan and Mike Tomlin and a bunch of other people. My dad was a coach and an umpire in the neighborhood, and we had all the baseball equipment and our thing. So there was a little bit of that. My father sort of eaten sleep sports when he wasn't a steel worker, which is kind of my life all these years later. You had a whole different background because your dad was like the real deal.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I grew up around football. My dad was a college coach his whole life. He played quarterback at LSU. So, that's the life I grew up in. So it was awesome. You're just being around the sport, being there, all the time, going on away trips, with equipment managers, loading up on the van on a Thursday, taking off, driving to, Jonesboro, Arkansas, or, College Station, all these different places.
Now, and you were always the kid throwing a football with teenagers and adults, kids. Young adults, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's all we did, and you're just running around the facility during, 2 days. You're finding different things to do. You're there all day and you're coming up with games. And so, that's why I turned out to be the person I was and to be the player I was. It just was second nature to me, catching the football, but also knowing the game, right? Because you just grew up around it. So I feel like I just see the game differently than a lot of people. And certainly that helped my playing days.
Did that help you with coaching in a general sense that Billick loved you? I mean, your coaches loved you.
I don't know if he did. Do you think he did? I don't.
Yeah,
I told him at the Super Bowl reunion afterwards. I mean, I never had anyone say so many bad words to me. I mean, he
really.
could cuss with the best of them.
Oh, and
Oh my
fluent. Yes,
gosh.
and yes, in
Yes, I
blue.
just like, but and I understand it, and it made me a better player. But he was an offensive guy, and we couldn't throw the ball, and I was a fourth round rookie, and so who are you going to yell at and pick on? That was me. I mean, that was me, Nestor. But it toughened me up, and it got me prepared to play for Peyton Manning, which was awesome.
Well,
So
I think part of that is he thought you were a coach. He loved coaches' kids. He thought that that's what Dad did. You know what I mean? Like that. I guess that was the way it was, right?
yeah, sure. But man, he said some things to me
Ooh,
that I can't repeat on this
I'm
on
still
this
waiting
show.
25 years later for him to say some of those things. Hey, it all worked out. You got a ring
It
from
did.
all of this here. Is there anything you do want to say other than Brian cussed a lot 25 years later?
No, it
what
was
what
great.
what
I
do you
mean,
remember about it and the game itself and catching that ball and the magic of landing and giving the Ravens the lead? Like, just I don't know what you think about 25 years later when you think about it.
just where that season started for me. I was just inactive. I wasn't even dressing out. And then Travis Taylor broke his collarbone. I got an opportunity to come in, be the fourth receiver, and just try to take advantage of my opportunities. And next thing you know, I'm starting in the Super Bowl, right? And the week leading up to it, I just remember, how I was just. We go down to Tampa and the weather's warm. It's like, oh my gosh, you're back. You've been cold for so long in that cold environment, and now you're just my legs felt great. And I felt so prepared for that game. My receiver coach, the late Milt Jackson, he had us dialed in, man. We were prepared. I was ready to go. And when they showed me that defense they were playing, I knew exactly what they're doing. I knew exactly what I had to do to get open. And Trent obviously threw a great pass, a perfect pass to me. So, and I just could have never imagined playing in a Super Bowl. I was small school and from Louisiana. I didn't think I was going to play in the NFL. And to have that opportunity to be able to play in a Super Bowl and then to catch a touchdown in a Super Bowl and then to win a Super Bowl. I mean, in my second year in the NFL, I mean, shoot, I was like 24 years old and I won a Super Bowl. It's just unbelievable. And I look back on it, just what a great organization. Steve Bisciotti just joined up with Art Modell, the year before or that year. And there we are. And just being able to hang around with old Baltimore Colts players, Johnny Unitas, having Thanksgiving at his house. Are you serious? And all those other great ones that were always around. And the fan base was so much fun and they loved football. And here we were, the Ravens that, we're back giving them football again. It was just awesome, man. I mean, golly, you look back and how much fun that was and what a time in my life it was. And to be able to do it in Baltimore, so much fun.
Brandon Stokley is our guest. You collect all sorts of things. I have these 1970 medallions, New England Patriots, and well, the Seahawks is a knockoff because they weren't around in 1970. But I have these medallions here. Who's going to win the game? What do you got for me in the Super Bowl here? If I had you on Radio Row next week in Santa Clara.
Well, I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I know they're favorites by about 4.5, 5 points, whatever it is. I think they're the more complete team. And I'm pulling for the Seahawks. I hate the Patriots. They've cost me about 2 more Super Bowls, so I can't get over that. I'm still a little bit bitter about that,
How many
Nestor.
did you play in? 4?
No, just 2.
Just 2.
Just
You weren't a
2.
part of one of the other ones with the
No,
Colts.
no, never was. So had a lot of heartbreak in the playoffs, and most of it was because of the Patriots. So I haven't gotten over that yet. So I don't want them to win. I'm sorry.
I'm
And
sorry what we did to you out there with Denver too. The whole
yeah,
Flacco mile high
yeah.
kick.
Thanks, appreciate that. I just was getting over it. So thanks for bringing it up
Well, it's
again.
been 14 years. By the time we all get over it.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. But yeah, that one hurt. I mean, you talk about Sean McVay saying he wasn't ready for the season to be over. That was that season for me, 2012. Like we had such a great team. I was healthy. I'm 36 years old. I'm fully healthy. I could have played another 6 months, another 10 football games, and all of a sudden, a team that you beat by double digits a month before at their place comes into your place, and on this miracle of all miracle plays, they win that football game. I was just devastated after that game. So,
It's one of the greatest football games I've ever went. I mean, I just to be there was an honor, and I went to a lot of cool football games. I was at the Elway Drive game. You and I have been through this. I went to 27 Super Bowls. That the Mile High Miracle, just from a game of touchdown back
yeah,
and forth,
right.
kickers, weather, cold, over like just legendary players, Ray Lewis, Peyton Manning, yourself. I mean, just
I wouldn't put me in that category,
well,
but
you're in
man,
Peyton's
yeah,
neighborhood, right? I mean, at least,
yeah.
right?
It was a fun game, and it was a great environment, and it just didn't end fun, unfortunately. But yeah, you had some legends in that game with Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and Peyton Manning. So it was a bummer for me how it ended. But I think you look at this game and you look at where Seattle is and how they're playing. What a great story, Sam Darnold, unbelievable. He's going to the Super Bowl. So, but you know what? This is what the Patriots do. And you see how they played this year, and Vrabel obviously being a part of some of those New England teams that, they weren't supposed to beat St. Louis, that the Rams, when they beat them that for that first Super Bowl. And you look at this team, and it kind of reminds me of that Brady-led team that pulled off that huge upset. So, but I'm pulling for Seattle. And I played in Seattle for a year and really liked that organization.
I was at that game too. Our buddy Kim Herring was a St. Louis Ram who
Oh,
didn't make
wow.
it.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, hey, I'm getting together with a whole bunch of. Is there anything you want to say about seeing your teammates 8 weeks
Oh,
ago, other than you and I
yeah.
had to like when Dilfer walked in, we're like, hey, that's Trent. Like, like
Yeah.
it was kind of a fun thing of seeing people that we had. I had a great time. That it was one of my favorite nights of 2025. Seeing you all.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I don't get back to Baltimore much. I live in Denver, and that's a long flight. And I do radio. And so during the season, it's hard for me to get away and leave on, say, a Friday and take off a Friday to go to Baltimore. So I don't get out to Baltimore much. I had such a great time, hanging out with the guys and having some cigars and some drinks and, reminiscing about. I mean, that was 20 something 25 years ago, like you said. I mean, I was I'm 23, 22 years old. I was a baby. I got drafted out of, college and went straight to Baltimore from Louisiana. I didn't know anything. And a lot of those guys, obviously, they were older, and now you look back and I'm 40 something years old and they're like 50 something years old. So with kids, all of a sudden I was a single guy then. And so it was so much fun. It's such a great organization and such a great place. So yeah, a lot of good guys there. Had a lot of fun reminiscing there a couple months ago for the reunion.
You know what? I'd say the same thing that you just said. A lot of really good people. Like that's my takeaway that night. My wife wasn't with me. I went home. I'm like, I like all those people and they all like me. And
Yeah.
25 years later, that's hard to do. You know what I mean? So it was really good seeing you as always. And any excuse once or twice a year that I can find you and make you come on and tell old football stories. But there's nothing better than the story of 25 years and the 25th anniversary of me writing this crazy book and you being in my life and winning this silly ring and having a good time and having these memories all these years later. So I don't know how we get together again after 20. I don't know if they do a 30 or 30. I think they put it away after 25 and they don't do it again until they're like 50. I hope that's not the case, but I will get out to Denver and enjoy some of the thin air. I got to get back out to Red Rocks. That's really my jam. You know that. So
Oh,
the
Red
minute
Rocks is great.
minute
Tough
that
play. I mean,
happens, I owe you some empanadas and an ice cold beverage and maybe some crawfish. I'll bring some steamed crabs with me and we'll do it up right. Brandon, appreciate you, man. 25 years later, always the best, man.
thanks, Nestor. Appreciate you, buddy.
Brandon Stokley, he's doing radio out in Denver, following after in my footsteps. Why? I have no idea. But we're going to be doing Super Bowl coverage all next week. It is a Cup of Soup or Bowl. It is our big charity and community week. And by the way, if you are tuning into the radio station this week and you hear the voice of Tony Saragusa, or you hear old chats with John Ogden or old chats with Ray Lewis, it will all be there in our audio vault. It's all up at Baltimore Positive. I'm Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore Positive.